Thank you very much, fellow Africans, and welcome to today's episode of the Change for African campaign. So, fellow Africans, being on Wednesday, it's all about our third pillar of the Change for African campaign, where we focus on matters to do with the resources that we own as an African continent. So, fellow Africans, today I'll be, of course, still on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We shall not give up on them until we come to the end of this. This being our 73rd episode of the Change for African campaign, and on Wednesday it's all about resources that we own as an African continent, our pillar number 3, and I will be equating this to the United Nations Sustainable Goal number 7, specifically on target number 2, which speaks about affordable and clean energy. And so target number 7.2 is all about increasing substantially the share of renewable energy in the global energy mix. Increasing substantially the share of renewable energy in the global energy mix. When you speak about such aspiration whereby they want to be an increment, or there's need for an increment of this need for substantial increment of renewable energy in the global energy mix. This was a very it was a very critical target, of course, because speaking about renewable energy, and we have some of the matters that really are affecting the world now, and some of these matters are climate change. Climate change is a very critical issue. So when they speak about this, specifically the area of focus on, or the keyword that is being brought here, it's all about climate change and things to do with global warming. That is what is being brought. And so, fellow Africans, we speak this in the African context. And now speaking about renewable energy, what is the state of Africa in terms of the renewable energy? Even how is it used, or is it substantially actually the one being used? No, because the aim of this target actually is to cut on the use of fossil fuels, which contribute to global warming, of which that is the norm in Africa. Most of the African countries still run that way. Majority of the African countries still run that way. So that is an aspiration of the United Nations that was there from 2015, that there should be a substantial increment, or share of renewable energy in the global energy mix. That now the renewable energy should take over from the non-renewable sources of energy, because renewable energy, these sources of energy, they will make sure that we do not have global warming, because the emission of fossil fuels, or the emission of the emission of those gases in the atmosphere, they lead to global warming. And so in the African context, we still have the problem of the state in which we are when it comes to renewable energy. We do have a lot of it. There's a substantial amount of renewable energy in Africa, but then you realize that we have not taken that to our prerogative. Rather, we are still lagging behind, and we still use very unprotected sources of fuel and unprotected sources of energy in Africa to carry many activities in Africa, which is a diabolical situation, if I may say, because the things we're using when it comes to the energy functions, energy is very critical, because we cannot do any industrialization when we are not harnessing our sources of energy. Remember, when we speak about energy, we have the solar energy, we have the hydroelectric energy, we have the wind energy, we have geothermal energy. All these are in Africa. We receive a very substantial amount of sunshine in Africa. Africa is highly hit in the Sahel region. That is a region that can be a potential. It can be for now it's a curse. They may say that way, because for now it's termed as a curse, because the conditions experienced there, they're not very good. But then we can take advantage of that, because there's a lot of sun or solar in that region. We have an ending sources of river in Africa. We have very many sources of rivers in Africa that can be fully utilized, and then we turn to be 100% clean energy. We have the renewable sources of energy that will be running our industries. We have the geothermal here in Kenya, in Ethiopia. We have such sources of energy. These are potential. These are we actually dosing on goals. We are dosing on very critical things that can be able to jumpstart Africa. Africa still we use very non-renewable sources of energy, very unprotected, that are not good for matters of to do with climate change. They do accelerate that. and also the matters to do with health, when you still use that, it's still a problem. So the call here is to see that though this is a global thing, but then in the African context, where are we? Any progress we've made, still we have a lot of work to do. That is why I speak about the Change for African campaign. This is about civilizing the African, most of the African youth, because these are the young people now going into those spaces. Now they need to grow up knowing that they have some clear obligation that are supposed to undertake, and to make sure that we do change the society, because the current society still we are in a very dilapidated position. So there's a substantial increment of renewable sources of energy into the energy space, global energy mix. It is an aspiration, I may say ambitious one, currently more so in the African context, because we have it. There's a way we do already have the source, but then the plans have yet to be put in place that can be able to now make this to be accelerated and go at a very high pace, to make sure that we integrate these types of energy into our systems, to be able to run our our industries, because industries, they do relate to the energy, and for us to be an industrialized continent. That's why until today in Africa we still a lot import very many things currently as we speak. It is because we have not really invested in the energy sector to make sure that we have enough energy to be able to run our industries. And so, fellow Africans, allow me to edit at that point. Most probably let's meet tomorrow as we discuss about our fourth pillar of the Change for African campaign. Every Thursday it's all about the living standards of our people in Africa in relation to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you and have a great evening, most probably.